During the 1970s, the women's liberation movement was at its pinnacle. Women were enveloped by stereotypes dictating they belong at home, with little encouragement to pursue an education or career. From unequal pay to unfair treatment in the workplace, the adversity was evident.
I think it was very good to grow up in a time when people were really talking about equal rights for women during the 70s and late 60s when I was in high school and that, because it was a time where people started saying women should be able to choose whatever career they wanted.
Women were not widely known in science and physics at the time. In 1975 alone, 97% of PhDs in the field were received by men. Today, we recognize Dr. Gail J. Brown, principal physicist and loving mother, for her courage and creativity in her career and educational pursuits. Her work at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base has earned her great recognition.
Like many of the kids in my generation who were growing up in the 1960s, the space program was a big influence on our life, and I think it did inspire a lot of other scientists and engineers I know to go into their careers. I didn't really know any other female scientists I could look up to in high school. Madame Curie's biography was probably the closest example I had of another woman scientist. When I started working at the Air Force Base in 1980, there was only one other woman scientist working in the laboratories. So it really was being one of the first in the few in a male-dominated organization. The first research leader I worked for was very conservative, and it was the first time he'd ever had to let a woman work in the laboratories with him. And he was very much kind of against that idea. He wasn't used to it. He thought for sure we wouldn't be able to turn the screws or adjust the equipment or be helpless in some ways. But we took on the job, and I really kind of won him over after a while. Could do anything he asked. So one time when we had a branch meeting and I was doing research in the lab and I didn't want to leave the experiment, people asked, well, where's Gail? Why isn't she at the meeting? And he said, a woman's place is in the lab. Cracked everybody up. They were so shocked. And I was very proud of that moment to think that, yay, a woman's place is in the lab.
Gail proudly worked her way from junior researcher to principal physicist and earned the respect of her colleagues. She travels the world meeting and working with other renowned physicists and universities. Gail especially values taking the time to mentor other young women pursuing careers in science and research.
One of the things you do would be like when they have science fairs at the elementary schools. I used to go and be a judge for some of that, just so, like say, these small children would actually see another woman scientist. And I also then mentored high school students who would come and work in the labs in the summer. And I had one, she actually came to work with me while she was still a high school student. What surprised me in her case, like I say, very bright woman, very well motivated. She had a pilot's license, all sorts of things, you know. And yet she was thinking about going into computer science because in high school they told her that physics wasn't a good career for women. And I was like so surprised because this is so many years later after I've already gotten my degree in that, thinking they still tell somebody don't go into physics when you're like the top of your class. Clearly capable of doing it if you're interested in it. And actually, she enjoyed working in the labs with me so much that she did go ahead and go into physics. So she majored in physics, became a Rhodes Scholar, went to Cambridge and studied there. And now she works at the National Institute for Science and Technology.
Gail is an inspiration to those around her, especially her own daughter Samantha, who has followed in her mother's footsteps and is now pursuing a PhD in chemistry at Ohio State University.
During school, you know, they always ask you, who is your role model? And it would always just be automatically my mom. My mom's my role model because she's this great scientist. And, you know, from a young age, I knew I wanted to be a scientist too.
I remember being very happy when she was in high school. She came home from her first day in chemistry class there and said, this stuff is really neat. I really like this. And I thought, yay. Come on into my office.
Yeah. I remember I used to come here a lot when I was younger. You'd bring me in for like career day and things. I remember being impressed by all the awards that you have displayed.
Yeah, there's a lot that's put on the walls here. The Cleary Scientific Achievement Award, which is a materials directorate laboratory award, it's for the top scientific achievement for any given year, and I was actually the first woman to get the Cleary Award in the materials directorate. Actually, one of my favorite pictures in the room is the one hanging over there that you made for me. And that where you were supposed to pick a role model and then do an Egyptian theme of hieroglyphics of what was special about the person that you admired. And you actually chose me and did a really nice job of drawing a picture of me. And then the 4 things you put in the picture were a computer for what I do at work, that I cook for you, that I love you, and that I do a lot of writing for papers and things. And so I thought that was really special, so I've always kept that here in my office.
Oh yeah, you're the most important person to me, Mom. Really an inspiration. I just hope that someday when my daughter's grown up, she can be as inspired by me as I am by you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks. I appreciate that.
I love you, Mom.